Okay, so with the anatomy, we're going to start with TFL or tensor fascia lata. So we're going to use Frank as well as an anatomy book in order to help you figure out where the muscles are in your body. So first we're going to start in the book. The red muscle here is the TFL. It attaches to the front and side of the muscle and is very thick as well. So when you slide down, it attaches to the IT band or iliotibial band or track that attaches on the side of the thigh, and it goes all the way down and attaches down to the shin bone. Now on Frank, in this position, here's the front of his hip. Here is an enlargement of the hip area on the outer part, and right in here, that's where the TFL is. And it moves downward and onto the thigh, attaching to the connective tissue, which is the IT band, all the way down to the shin bone here. Now the next muscle is called Satorious. It attaches to the front of the hip, and it's a very long muscle, moving across the thigh and down to attach to the inside of the shin bone area, along with other muscles that we'll talk later. Now, a tidbit about this muscle is that it's also called a tailor's muscle, because if you can see in this picture here, they would go into this position, which is a figure 4, in order to sew or hem, and that is the action of that muscle. So the action we're focusing on today is hip flexion. Now on Frank here, it attaches right here on Frank. TFL is located here, Satorious is right here, and it goes all the way down to here. Now, we'll come back to the book here. The reason we're going to do that is just want to show you that the proximity of TFL and Satorious. And then, just underneath that is Rectus Femoris, which is part of your thigh muscle. Up in this area here, that's where they'll tend to stick together, adhere. And so that's where your lacrosse ball will come into play, your foam rolling, but especially the lacrosse ball. So, the third muscle is called Rectus Femoris. It's part of your quad muscle group, and it attaches below Satorious and TFL. It runs basically vertically downward, and it engulfs the kneecap to attach to the shin bone. Now, another thing to note is when we come across over to this side here, this picture shows the TFL being cut just to show that there is another muscle called Vastus Lateralis. But the TFL moves downward, attaching to the IT band here. And you can see how the IT band sits on the outer quad muscle. Now, on Frank here, the Rectus Femoris attaches down into this area here. So this is where Satorious attaches, TFL, and Rectus Femoris right here. Then the muscle travels downward, engulfs the kneecap, and attaches to the shin bone here. The last muscle that we're going to talk about is called Iliopsoas. It's a combination of 3 muscles, 2 in particular, but in terms of doing a massage, we're only going to focus in on one. But I like to talk both of them. The first one is psoas major. It attaches to your lower back and moves downward and outward to attach to your thigh bone. Iliacus attaches here on the inside of your hip and moves downward to attach to the same site as psoas. So that is the reason why it's called iliopsoas. But Iliacus is the muscle that we are going to focus our attention on. Another tidbit of information, I don't know if you know this, but this muscle here is in pigs called a pork loin. So basically, this is the pork loin of our body. Now, over here on Frankie, the muscle psoas attaches to the side of the lumbar spine and the pronae projections that are coming off the side, moving downward and attaching to the thigh bone. Iliacus, the main muscle that we're going to talk about or massage, attaches on the inside part of the hip and moves downward and attaches to the thigh bone as well. Now, all four muscles, they'll have variances of actions, but the main action that we're going to show today or working on is hip flexion. So this is considered hip flexion. So for the massages that we're going to do today are going to be focused in the front part of your hip as well as a little bit on the side, and also moving downward because part of rectus femoris is here that we're focusing on, but you have to treat the whole muscle. We won't focus too much down here because that'll be in another video.